Welcome to Secrets Out Idaho. Each week, we let you in on the secrets of Southern Idaho and speak to the people who make it such a unique hidden gem. I'm your host, Connie Stouffer. On today's episode, we'll learn what it was like to grow up in a town where you can bull ride on Main Street, snowmobile for hundreds of miles, and graduate with a class of 11. And why there's no better place to live than the Camas Prairie when we talk to fourth-generation farmer and Camas County Commissioner, Travis Kramer. Travis Kramer, thank you so much for joining me on Secrets Out Idaho. I'm really excited to talk to you and learn about life on the Camas Prairie.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to get an opportunity to brag about the Camas Prairie.
Wonderful. So tell me just a little bit about yourself and what you do there in Camas.
So I am a fourth-generation farmer on the Camas Prairie. I was blessed being raised there my whole life. I went through kindergarten through high school there. I'm a Camas County Musher alum. And so after high school, I went to college for a little bit and then realized what I was missing. And I came back to Camas County, started working at a ranch there. I've been there 10 years now. And then 2 years ago, I got elected Camas County Commissioner, and that's been a new interesting venture. And yeah, everything's been going great.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about being a fourth generation farmer. What have you guys farm, or what do you guys do? What's life been like being a farmer there?
So Camas County is a little bit unique where we have really, really cold nights. It can freeze any month of the year. So we don't have any opportunities of having potatoes, corn, things like that. We're more down with barley and alfalfa. But the great part of that is we have slow growing seasons. We're down at 30 miles away. They can have up to 5 cuttings of alfalfa. We only get about 2 cuttings. Mm-hmm. But since that alfalfa grows really slow, that's very nutrient rich. So a lot of the alfalfa gets shipped off to even as far as Colorado, Texas, to the dairies over there. And so the ranch I work at, we do about 2,000 acres of irrigated farming, and then we have 150 head of cattle that we winter there and raise up there. My father has a custom farming operation where he owns the farm equipment, and then different farms hire him to do the tilling and the planting. And my grandfather he did his own farming operation there. He's also a county commissioner back in the 60s.
So it runs in the family.
Yeah. And then my great grandfather, he started farming back in the 40s, and he actually found the Clovis Point archaeological site.
Wow.
So, that dates back 13,000 years.
Wow. And
when he was had a road grader tilling up some land and came upon him, about 60 points, I believe. And I think 30 some of those are at the Herritt Museum right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So you guys have roots way back.
Yes.
That's awesome. And so I think when people think about farming in Idaho, they instantly think of potatoes, and that's all that we grow in Idaho. Is that something you have to combat when you tell people what you do? When you tell them that you're a farmer in Idaho, do they just always assume it's potatoes?
Oh, yeah. Even if people think they don't confuse Idaho with Iowa, with Iowa with the corn, with Idaho and the potatoes, the reason that Idaho's been so great for potatoes is that we have the soil had a lot of volcanic activity in it. Mm-hmm. And then with the cool nights, hot days, it was a perfect conditions for potato growing, and which, it's still a great operation here, but where I'm at, it just gets too cold. It froze on the 4th of July last year, so we don't have the pleasure of having potatoes there.
But great alfalfa.
Yes, great alfalfa.
So you told me that you went away for college. Where did you go to college? I
went to 2 years and got my Associates in Science at Columbia Basin College in the Tri-Cities, and then I went and studied hydrology at Boise State.
Oh, awesome. So missed home. What was kind of that calling that brought you home? What did you miss about living in this area?
Once I left, I kind of saw what it was in the city. And in high school, every high schooler's dream is you got to get away from your hometown. Mm-hmm. So I left, and then after that, I went closer to Boise, and then after that, I started visiting Fairfield more often, and that's when I got a great opportunity to work at a cattle ranch, which I farmed my whole life, but cattle is something I've only done for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been awesome. I'm planning on dying there. That's what I'm going to say.
Hopefully that's a long time from now. So So obviously you get some cold nights there, but tell me a little bit more about the Camas Prairie, what someone might see, because I had spent a lot of time in Idaho before I had a chance to go up to Camas County and to Fairfield, and I took the road driving up through Gooding, and you go up that pass, and I took one of our new staff members up there for the first time, and when we went over and kind of came up that bluff, she literally gasped. She went, oh, because it's so beautiful. You're not expecting it. You're kind of driving through the high desert, and then you get up over that pass, and you just see the prairie, and it is gorgeous. It was breathtaking, literally. Like it's just the first time I saw it, I was shocked by it. And I don't think a lot of people realize what a little gem you have there in Camas County. So I'll have someone who's been there for a long time tell me a little bit about what makes it special.
Well, kind of going in a little bit of history. So the reason we're named Camas is because of the camas lily that's there. And back in the 1800s, the Shoshone-Bannock Indians, that was their summer gathering grounds. They would come over and harvest the camas root, and they would grind it up for flour. They would roast it, and some even ate it raw. Mm-hmm. And so even back then, they knew the significance of how great the prairie was. And then actually, in the 1860s, the U.S. was signing a treaty and they were actually going to designate the Camas Prairie to the Shoshone-Bannock tribes. Well, when everything got signed, there was a misprint, and it was actually put Kansas Prairie instead of Camas Prairie. So then after that, the treaty was basically void. So then after that, a lot of then more settlers came in, and that's actually one of the catalysts that started the Bannock War. Oh, wow. And one of the great things about the Camas Prairie is everything that's happened in the West has happened there. We had from the Native American tribes that were there to the settlers coming in and the trappers. The president of the Idaho Trappers Association resides in Fairfield. We've had cowboys back then. We still got cowboys that run their cattle through now. Sheep herders gone through. Hill City on the west side of the prairie was at one point the largest sheep shipping headquarters in the world at one point. Really? I didn't know that. Yep. And then from there, the railroad was a big part, and actually the reason Fairfield's where it's at was because of the railroad gone through. The main town site was Soldier, which is about 2 miles north of Fairfield. But once the railroad came in, the town of Soldier sadly died, and Fairfield became the heart of Camas County. Wow, that's pretty interesting. And I think, if you weren't from here and you just drove through there, you wouldn't realize that rich history. And I had the opportunity to go up for the camas lilies bloom a couple of years ago, and I think the native people that live up there still harvest them. Is that right? Yeah. So I believe on June 1st of this year, and the first weekend of June every year, the Shoshone-Bannock, they come up and they do harvest. They go out. I'm not sure if they go out there, but one of the greatest places to see the camas lilies is Centennial Marsh, which is located 10 miles west of Fairfield. And that's 3,100 acres of designated wetlands and just beautiful, beautiful bird watching there. And if you time it just right and watch the camas lily blooms, that's fantastic. And the Camas Lily Days is a really great deal. So they go up and they kind of have a ceremonial harvest, and then they go to the 4-H park and they have a dance there, which is great for people coming. Different vendors have their trinkets there and whatnot. And they even have a fishing derby at Kitts Pond. So. Yeah, I went up there just to see the flowers, and I should have thought it would be great birding because it's the wetlands. But when I got out there were tons of people out there birding, and there were lots to see up there, and lots of other wildflowers, and that was a beautiful time of year to be up there. Yeah, and then if you time it just right, it's a sight to be seen. It's amazing. Yeah, and there's another event that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that happens in Fairfield, and it's the rodeo. Yeah, so I believe it's July 12th and 13th of this year. We have a rodeo every year, and it's a small town rodeo. It's they call it the best little rodeo in the Northwest, and they have the hometown bull riding. In fact, in 2013, to check something off my bucket list, I got on a couple bulls. Did you? Yeah, and it was great. It was great doing that and hearing locals cheering me on. That was fun.
Had you ever done it before?
Nope.
You just jumped on a bull?
I just wanted to try it. And it was great. Did not even come close to 8 seconds, but it was worth it. And so they have the rodeo, and then the first weekend of August we have our fair. And that's really interesting. On the Saturday night of the fair, they block off the main street, and there's an empty lot that they pull in the bleachers from the football field, and they have a couple pens set up, and they have a main street bull riding. Mm-hmm. And it's a free event, and it's really great because a lot of local kids in Southern Idaho, they like to participate in that. And then as soon as that bull riding gets done, a band hops on the stage on the trailer, and they have a street dance right there on Main Street.
I've heard it's a wild time up there to be up there for the street dance and the bull riding and all there on Main Street. I can't think of probably any place in the world that probably has bull riding on their Main Street.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's kind of a newer thing that we got, and the whole fair is just fantastic. A lot of people that do leave, they love coming back for the fair. The Friday night we have a fantastic potluck, which is one of my favorite events. I love having everybody trying out everything that people bring. They have a cow chips toss. I want to enunciate that correctly. A cow chip toss, and it's exactly what it sounds like. We fill up a pickup truck with dried cow pies, bring it over, and we have different age groups, and it's whoever can throw them the farthest.
I think that's something that's fun about small towns, is that everyone's got their own unique kind of personality and flavor. And I think Fairfield is one that's really got that in spades, between like your fair and the rodeo and the Camas lilies and things like that. I think sometimes small towns have a hard time figuring out what their identity is. And I think Fairfield knows who they are. Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they think of Fairfield, they think of, the store and the Wrangler off the highway. A lot of people don't realize that we have you just turn off the highway there. We have a beautiful downtown area for a town of only 400 people, we are blessed with some of the best places to eat. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
You really do. And it is a really cute downtown. I was surprised because I've been in lots of little towns and towns that are way out in the remote, and usually their downtowns are a little sad and a little run down. But yours is really cute, and you can tell that the people that live there have put a lot of love into keeping it beautiful and vibrant and supporting the businesses there.
Yes, the city did a kind of a downtown revitalization 2 years ago. All new sidewalks, lampposts, and it looks fantastic.
So, if someone was to come to Fairfield, when is like the best time of year to come, or is it a good time to come anytime? Skiing in the winter, snowmobiling in the winter, rodeo in the summer.
Yeah, and that's what's great is we got some every time of year. We our ski hill is doing fantastic. That's definitely one of those secrets around, and it's great. It's great in a way that it is kind of a secret because there's not many people there. But
so you can have the mountains kind of to yourself.
Yep. My wife says that it won't snow for a week, and you'll still have fresh powder when you go up there. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really fun to go up there and hearing the people say, "Oh, this is where I learned how to ski," and that's where I learned to ski back in grade school. Mm-hmm. So, and then even we have fantastic snow. Obviously, we're about a mile high up, and we have a snowmobile club that does a fantastic job. We have over 200 miles of groomed trails. So for snowmobilers, you can bring the family up, and there's areas for beginners, and then we obviously have great areas off trail where you can go off to. We got some hot springs up over the hills, and we actually, now that the elk aren't wintering up there as often, the Forest Service actually opened up a lot more towards the north. So there's a lot of areas for snowmobilers to come up. And then from there, springtime, obviously the Camas lilies, when they're in bloom, is great. We have a lot of summer events, as I mentioned earlier. And then you get into the fall, it's a great hunting area around there. Up north in the mountains, it's a great area for kids to really go out and be in nature and learn the basics of hunting and going out and actually working hard to harvest an animal.
So if someone was thinking about moving, whether they're moving out west for the first time, or maybe they live out west somewhere in a big city and are thinking they need a slower pace of life, why should they think about maybe Camas County or Fairfield, and what's life going to be like on a day-to-day basis? You have all these fun activities, but what is life like on an average day in Fairfield?
Well, cold.
It's not always cold.
It does get cold. We do have some harsh winters, but at the same time, we got a lot of dirt roads. We have a fantastic road and bridge crew that does a great job of keeping people going. And really, it definitely is. When I have some of my city friends come up, I hear both sides of it where they say, boy, they kind of gasp and say, oh, it's like going back in time here. And then other people are like, oh, it's so nice. You're like going back in time. So it depends it depends on how you want to go into it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. There's people there that I've known my whole life. You couldn't ask for better, nicer people around and more welcoming and we are definitely open for business of having people come in. Camp Rainbow Gold is moved up to the old Ranch and Resort. And it's one of those things where for the right people, there's not a better place. For the right people and the right business, there's nothing better than Fairfield. Yeah,
I actually thought when I drove up for that pass and came down into the Prairie, I was like, this is someplace I would want to move, like when I'm ready to like retire or if I had a job up there. Like it's just beautiful. And I don't think you can have a fair where you have a potluck event unless you have a tight-knit community.
For sure.
Where everyone knows, you're bringing salad and you're bringing, dessert or whatever, and there's something really charming and alluring about having a community where you know everybody and you can call up your friend and put on something really fun for the community and raise your kids in a safe, quiet place.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you couldn't ask for a safer, quieter place. And it was not a hard sell for my wife to want to move up here. She absolutely loves it up here, and she sees the county for what it really is.
Where's your wife from?
Originally from Spokane, and then then we met over in Boise.
Mm-hmm. So she had a chance to visit a few times, and she was sold on it. Is she a big outdoors person? Or?
Yeah, she's definitely a snow bunny. She loves the ski hill. She's already bought her season pass for next year. She absolutely loves it up there. And even though we've had a pretty strong winter this year, just loves the snow. So, and if you live in Camas County, you gotta love the snow.
So is she getting sad about spring coming?
Well, if she might be. I'm not. Yeah. We're just about ready to start dropping a lot of calves, and so I'm ready for the snow to start melting, make it a little easier for calving conditions.
Yeah, I bet. And you guys are not far from Sun Valley either, so which is probably pretty nice. I know Soldier Mountain's a great place to ski, but you have Dollar Mountain and some other places too to go skiing too. I think there's just an abundance of opportunity for recreation and things to do within a short drive from Fairfield, but still feel like you've got your own slice of paradise out there without anything up but the mountains and the prairies.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody likes to travel. Whether to travel to east to our neighbors over there or even going south. You go south just a little ways and when you get into Gooding County, the little city of rocks, what a fantastic area around there. I've gone through there hundreds of times, and I'll see something new every time, a different rock formation. It's a great area over there.
So do you do any climbing while you're there? Or is it mostly like hiking and exploring?
Some hiking, exploring, do some trapping. Yeah. That's kind of what we kind of do in our free time around that area.
So you guys have kids?
Nope, no kids. We've only been married for 5 months now.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. But I imagine the school, having gone, K through 12 there, I bet it's a neat experience having a small class. How big was your class?
I graduated with a class of 11, and through freshman and senior, the whole high school, we had 48 students.
And I bet it's going to have a hard time people wrapping their minds around having a whole high school with only 48 students, because there are some classes that have classrooms that have 36 kindergartners in them or whatever. Sure. And so to be able to have a class of 11, I think the quality of your education is going to be so fantastic because you're going to have so much one-on-one time with your teacher. You're going to know the people that you've gone to school with all the way through school, and you have such tight-knit bonds. I bet that's really valuable for kids growing up.
Absolutely. I'm still very tight with a lot of the teachers that my older brothers had, and they're still teaching his kids there right now. And our principal there, he's only been there a couple years, but he acts like he's lived there his whole life. He has such a heart for these kids and for the community. It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, it's a great one-on-one time with the kids. And there's a lot of areas where students could probably get swept under the rug and they just fall under the radar. Definitely not.
You're not going to fall under the radar when there's only 11 of you.
Absolutely not. You will have a whole community that'll be helping you to achieve the most you can. That's absolutely.
I bet it's also hard as a kid to get into trouble because your parents are probably going to find out before you get home.
Oh yeah, yep. And even with technology nowadays, it's even worse than when I was younger.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about Little City of Rocks and some of the snowmobiling trails, but tell me a little bit more about some of those other secret spots that people might either discover in Camas County or just some of the other places you like to go in the area.
So one of the things that I've been noticing a lot more on the west side of the prairie is a lot of the snow kites.
What are snow kites?
So what it sounds like is it's what people have parachutes on long ropes, and they have. So
is it like kiteboarding, like you would on the water?
Yeah, kind of like on the water, basically. And I've seen them on skis and on boards. And it's one good thing for the snow kites is that in the early spring, the wind always blows.
Uh-huh.
And we still have a lot of snow on the ground, so it's perfect conditions. The visibility is great. So I've seen that starting to get more popular. Huh. And it's really a sight to be seen because you see all these bright, beautiful kites going off the side of the road, and so that's something that's really starting to pick up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know that was a thing, and now I'm gonna have to drive up to Fairfield in the winter and check it out. It sounds like one of those dangerous sports that I'm probably not cut out for, like bull riding. But yeah. So then that story boggles my mind. Like I can't imagine just like jumping on a bull, having never done it before. We interviewed Cash Wilson, who's a bareback rider earlier, and that's also a sport that I'm like, and he just did that on a bet, and so I'm like. And maybe growing up in the West and being kind of around, cowboys and stuff, you kind of have an idea of what you're supposed to do when you get on there. But I know I would just hurt myself.
It was, like I said, it was a bucket list item, and it was really fun being on there because a lot of the bullfighter, I talked to him before, and he kind of helped me out. So then being in the chute with the bull rearing up and laying down, and the different cowboys kind of helping you stay up, the bullfighter over there helping you out. It's really a great family, and I was just a imposter that came in there, and they all helped out and made sure I was safe, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't come close to 8 seconds with it.
So now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you a little bit about your role as county commissioner. What inspired you to run 2 years ago?
Really. One of the veteran commissioners, he was there for 12 years, and he was thinking about retiring. So he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, I know you love this community, and you're planning on staying here. What do you think about being county commissioner?" I had absolutely no clue how the internal workings of local government worked, not at all. And I was like, "Well, let me check it out." So the first meeting I went to, the array of things on the agenda went from fixing a bridge to go to Twin Lakes Reservoir to Larkspur weed spraying, and then they talk about the upcoming budget season, which I love math, so I'm like, dang, this is a great thing. So I was hooked from that first meeting I went to, and from there I just started learning a little bit more. We also have great elected officials for the other positions. So then when I started talking to them, they did a lot to help me get my feet wet of learning the internal workings of everything. And so I ran and won my first year. I won my first term. It was only a 2-year term. And then I just won my second term. So they're going to be there for another 4 years for sure.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And you're a fairly young guy. And I think a lot of times people have a picture of government as being older, stodgy people. And they're always wondering, like, how do we get young people involved? And I think small towns are a great gateway for young people to get involved, either in leadership positions in businesses or in government, because I've always found small towns are like yearning to get young people involved. Have you seen that in your own community, or do you think that was part of why that previous commissioner reached out to you?
And you're definitely right. It is not really a young man's game, and it does take a lot of work. I work a full-time job, which is, being on a ranch, that's 40 plus hours a week. So it is very time consuming. So where a lot of people, where they are retired and they kind of they have a little bit more free time. That's usually why they get why they kind of fall into those positions. But the community is being so welcoming. When I started getting that, and I believe it's one reason is I've known them my whole life, and they can come up and talk to me. I'm very approachable, and they can come up and talk to me, and it's been fantastic. Even though it's kind of a thankless job, is what I always hear, but I really, really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's been fantastic, and I still give credit to the other elected officials I work with, the other 2 members of the board that I work with. I got some great people I work with, so that's probably a big reason why it's so much fun.
Yeah, I bet. And I always say that the place that you can make the most difference is in your local government. And so I think people who maybe be trying to find a way to like make a difference and be a positive change, looking at your own small communities, are a great way to get involved and do some good for your community.
Yes. Yeah. And when I first started looking into it, I admit I was very oblivious of how much work goes into keeping a community running, and we got a great system. We have relatively cheap property, mm-hmm. which is another reason why I think it's very welcoming for families to come in, for businesses to come in, and we just kind of have everything. We have a good business plan where everything's kind of set and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. So speaking about businesses, if someone had a small business that they could pick up and move, whether it was a small manufacturing business or something maybe that they ran online or something like that, what do you think would be really successful? Is there a niche that is waiting to be filled there in Camas County?
I bet that's kind of the $1 million question mm-hmm. of what is that niche to fill it out. And really, it just, I think everything's a little bit different. Like I said earlier, Camp Rainbow Gold really found they found a great opportunity by coming to the old Ranch and Resort. Everything's already there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just kind of finding what works. I will say that the people there, we are very, very hard workers. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to be a hard worker, and you got to be tough to live in the Camas Prairie. Mm-hmm. And so really, if somebody came, we have a great workforce, and I know a lot of people who commute over to the valley or they commute over to the south. They would love for an opportunity to work on the prairie, mm-hmm. and that business would definitely be proud of that.
I think that's amazing. And I've found that to be true too. And when we talk a lot to businesses about the workforce here, and that's something that stands, Idahoans generally apart from maybe other workforces that I've dealt with, where they just people won't show up on time. They leave mm-hmm. early. They take long lunches. And I'm like, that's not what you get when you hire an Idahoan. They will be there early and they will work a hard day's work and do a good job, because growing up on farms and ranches and living it out here requires some hard work sometimes.
Absolutely. And during harvest time, there's no being late for work. You got to show up on time, and even sometimes on time is 2 a.m. to go rake or bale hay. Mm-hmm. So you can't be late for that. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about some of your favorite things to do when you're not ranching, you're not being a county commissioner. What are some of your favorite things to do?
My wife always says I work too much, and sadly I'm definitely not a cowboy. I don't ride horses. I'm a farmer who plays with cows. But being on the ranch, and especially right now with calving, it's not work. I enjoy helping that. You see a mama cow struggling with her calf, so mm-hmm. It's so rewarding to go out and help her out, and really that's fun. Yeah, I enjoy doing that. I'm not necessarily a recreationalist. I shovel too much snow to really want to play in the snow.
You leave that to your wife.
Yes. So really for fun, I really just like to go into the town and mingle with the people. Mm-hmm. That's what I like to do. We got some of the best places to eat where you can go and we had steak and scallops one night at one place, and then the next night we had king crab. And for a town of 400 people, that's pretty amazing. So
tell me some of the restaurants. So if someone is going to be going to Fairfield for the first time, where can they stop and get something awesome to eat?
During the daytime, on a weekday, one of my favorite places to go is Soldier Creek Brewery. They have fantastic sandwiches. I don't do much change, so I get the mesquite pita every single time I go in there. But my wife gets something different, and she's always happy. Then you go, and then over at the Cliff Bar, they got some of the best finger steaks there, and they fly in their fish from Alaska, so they got great fish and chips as well. And obviously, the Wrangler has, I think, the best milkshakes in the state.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to make it. I haven't had one. I'll have to make a trip up there.
Oh,
I love me a good milkshake.
Absolutely, I think Diners Dives.
Oh yeah,
they did a recording there last October. So
we'll have to share that.
So we'll see it whenever they come out with that.
Yeah.
And we also have a new coffee joint that just opened up, the Country Crumb. Mm-hmm. That just opened up, and they got fantastic cinnamon rolls there.
Oh, nice.
Then even when you go up north into the mountains, 27 miles away from Fairfield, there's a great little bar over there called Smoky Bar.
Really?
Out in the middle of there. Huh. And that is a great place that's a great place because every time I go there, I see somebody new that I never met before that's either biking through, hunters, and that's a fun place to go to.
Yeah, I bet it's. I wouldn't see. That's the sort of thing is that I wouldn't have known there was something 26 miles up. From Fairfield. We'll have to make sure to share all of that. Anything else someone should know about living in Camas County, coming to visit, to recreate, or bringing their business to Camas County?
Really, we are more than just an Arctic tundra in between Mountain Home and Sun Valley. If a person has time and you're passing through on the highway, take a turn to the north on Main Street and just check it out. And really, if people want to, it's a secret area. There's a lot of people, and sadly, some of the locals might be a little upset of sharing some of those secrets. But yeah, the snowmobiling is fantastic, and the skiing's fantastic, and then the events that we have in the summertime. They're fun. We are a very welcoming community. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else like it, and definitely come to visit. And I've had a lot of people that come to visit, and then a couple years later they said, "Yep, this is where we want to move our family to."
That's awesome.
So those are the stories I like hearing because those are the people that they see it and they said, "Oh, fell in love with it." Mm-hmm. They don't have to be old timers like me. They can come here and see that they love it and want to stay.
Well, and even it was love at first sight when I came over that pass, and I just thought, I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. One more question I wanted to ask you was about the hot spring that's up there. Mm-hmm. On our episode when we talked to Sonia, she mentioned that there was one up there, but we couldn't remember the name, and I think you know what it is. So
yes.
Where is that hot spring, and what is it, and where can they find it?
So that's Warswick Hot Springs is, I believe, what she was referring to. Mm-hmm. So the best way to get to it is you take... Well, for the directions, you go over Wells Summit, and once you go over Wells Summit, you'll take a left at the first tee and just keep going. I'd say about 3 miles, and it's right off the side of the road there. And even if that's right at the edge of Carie Creek.
Okay.
And what's really kind of neat around there is if you kind of start driving around there, you'll find old mines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you go further north off of that, up Carie Creek, there's an old mining town called Carytown.
Oh, wow.
As you go up towards Dollarhide.
Huh. And you mentioned earlier that Soldier was a previous city that kind of died out when Fairfield. Is there like a ghost town up there? Are there still remnants of Soldier somewhere?
Well, there is a couple people that still live in Soldier. There's a lot of old towns. There's Corral, Hill City's still there. Old town of Menard. Back in the day, there was 16 schools in the Camas Prairie.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then they later consolidated after a while. But I lived where I grew up was about a half mile away from Springdale Elementary School.
Huh.
And that building's still standing.
So for history buffs who want to go see what the Old West was like, they can still see a lot of that up there in the Camas Prairie.
Yes, a lot of the old schools are still around, and a lot of people I've seen different pictures on the internet of people. Well, that Springdale school, a guy went over and he started exploring around and checking things out. The old Corral School, I believe, is still there, and then some of the other schools they got relocated into town, and that's where some of my elementary classes were in.
Oh, wow.
So I believe my I think the old music room was the old Menard School.
Oh, wow.
If I remember right.
That's pretty amazing. Well, I am just so excited that you came to share so much about Camas County, because I've been there and I've learned so much today. And so I hope that people will take the time to go check out the Camas Lilies or visit the fair and can see the bull riding on the main street, or maybe think about moving up there, because it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So I appreciate you taking the time to share all that with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for listening to Secrets Out Idaho. You can follow Southern Idaho Economic Development on social media or visit southernidaho.org to learn more. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review and subscribe so you can be the first to hear more Secrets Out Idaho. Until next time.